Love. Perhaps the most beautiful part of the human experience. The unspoken, indescribable bond between two people. There is nothing that can truly replicate the feeling of being in love. It's something that only those who have experienced it can understand. However, oftentimes with love comes one of the most painful experiences a human can have. Sometimes the person that once loved you no longer feels the same way, and just like that, it's over. Letting go of someone that you love is painful, and it is often described as a broken heart. With heartbreak comes a mixture of conflicting emotions, from despair to rage to depression. It's the sensation of a dull, aching pain in your chest, a feeling that your heart has been literally damaged. In the moment, it feels permanent, like the damage done to your heart is irreversible and you will feel like this forever. Because of the complex emotions involved with a broken heart, it's no wonder why these emotions are rarely depicted well in media. I mean, how could you represent emotions that are nearly indescribable? Well, it has been done before, and one of the best examples comes from South Park. The season 7 episode Raisins tackles love, heartbreak, and depression so effectively that it can be easy to forget that it's the same show with multiple episodes entirely about poop and fart jokes. But not only is this episode incredibly accurate in its portrayal of heartbreak, it also suggests an alternative way of looking at it that is surprisingly insightful. This is the beauty in heartbreak as shown in South Park. But before that, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, HelloFresh. So if you watch my Q&A video, you know that I like to cook, but the only problem with cooking is that it takes a long time. But with HelloFresh, you get ingredients and recipes delivered straight to your door. It really helps in making the cooking process a lot less stressful and time-consuming, because all the meals come with pre-portioned ingredients and super easy to follow recipes. This means that I don't have to plan out what I'm going to eat for dinner every night because it's already there and ready to be made. HelloFresh allows you to pick from over 50 different meal options, and all of them are super easy to make and incredibly high quality. The ingredients are so fresh, it's like you picked them yourself. And not only is it much easier than shopping for groceries, but it's also a lot cheaper. And most importantly, these meals are absolutely delicious. Last night I made these steak creamy cilantro bowls, and I was genuinely impressed with how delicious they were. I even ate the leftovers today for lunch. So you can use my link or go to HelloFresh.com and use code POGBloomsDEC70 for 70% off plus shipping on your first box. And once you click, my description will live update to count up the purchases. So again, if you want delicious, easy to make, and convenient meals, go ahead and sign up for HelloFresh today. And thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. The episode begins with the boys playing football on the playground. Bebe comes up to Stan and tells him that his longtime girlfriend Wendy no longer wants to be together. Stan is surprised and confused by this, and while his friends tell Bebe to go away since Stan doesn't care, Stan is left standing there, paralyzed. His shock quickly evolves into sadness, and he is left walking around town, mourning the loss of the girl he once loved. He can't help but see her everywhere he looks, expecting her to arrive at any moment and tell him that she wants to be together again, but she never comes. Throughout this episode, we see Stan go through all the stages of grief, starting here with denial. As he begins to accept the reality that she's not coming to make it all okay, he sits and cries in the rain on the curb, feeling more alone than ever before. He looks at a picture of her, trying to understand where it all went wrong. He hates the feelings he experiences and would do anything to have Wendy as his girlfriend again. He refuses to accept that she is gone for good and decides he needs to win her back. This is when we begin to see our next stage of grief, bargaining. The next day at school, he asks Kyle to go talk to Wendy and ask her why she ended it. She discusses how she likes Stan and has nothing against him, she just doesn't want to be boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. This is not enough for Stan, and he asks Kyle to tell her to be more direct. Kyle refuses, telling Stan to do it himself and to be poetic. Stan, in his best attempt to be poetic, then asks Jimmy to tell Wendy that she is a continuing source of inspiration to him.
Stan says you're a cunt. You're a cunt. Stan says you're a cunt. Cunt.
Well, tell Stan to fuck off!
Well, with that not going exactly to plan, Jimmy then informs Stan that she walked away and tells him that he needs to face the truth. It is over between them. Stan then realizes that it really is over, and this brings us into our next stage of grief, depression. Stan lays in bed, staring at the ceiling as trash piles up around his room. He is so depressed he can't even cry. Instead, he just lays there completely devoid of any feelings. When his friends come to cheer him up, they realize he is entirely inconsolable. He can't understand the point of living anymore when the only girl he'll ever love is gone. He explains to his friends that they couldn't possibly understand how he feels, detailing what it is like to have your heart completely broken.
You always hear songs about a broken heart and you think it's just a figure of speech, but it's true. My chest hurts.
The rest of the boys try to come up with a plan to cheer him up, and they decide to take him to Raisins. This is where the episode begins to shift perspectives and identify a different response to love and heartbreak.
No, we just have to show him that there's other girls out there. I say we take him to Raisins. What's Raisins?
The boys then arrive at Raisins, which is essentially a Hooters for kids. The waitresses here are dressed provocatively and get big tips from boys for pretending to be interested in them. The idea was to take Stan somewhere that has lots of attractive girls to try to get his mind away from Wendy. However, as anyone experiencing heartbreak will tell you, these other girls might as well be invisible, since Stan only cares about the girl that he loves. He has absolutely no interest in any of these other girls, and his depressed state only worsens as Kyle tries to get the girls to talk to him. While Stan is forced to listen to a girl that he has no interest in, Butters begins to believe that their waitress likes him after she flirts with him while taking their orders. When they go to leave, the waitress asks when she will be able to see him again, asking to see him as soon as possible. This excites Butters so much that he tips her extra before he leaves. Butters' naivety prevents him from seeing that this girl is just trying to get money from him, and we see the early stages of love beginning to form within him. As they leave, Stan reveals that he feels worse, and that their attempt to show him that there are other girls was completely pointless.
Dude, I don't have time to start over with other girls. I'm 9 years old, dude. If I don't work things out with Wendy, I could be alone my whole life.
After this, Stan realizes that he needs to take control of this situation, and he moves into our next stage of grief, anger. He goes to Bebe's house and demands that she go talk to Wendy for him. Bebe says that the only way that he could get Wendy back is to do something romantic to prove that he still loves her. Her suggestion is to go stand outside of Wendy's window and hold a boombox over his head playing Peter Gabriel. So, Stan does exactly that. When Wendy comes to the window, she looks shocked, and that's because Token is there with her. When Stan realizes that she has moved on to someone else, he immediately reverts back to his depression. Meanwhile, Butters falls deeper in love with the waitress, bringing her gifts as she leaves Raisins. He asks her if she wants to go on a date, but she says she's really busy. She says that if he comes back to Raisins, they can hang out all he wants. In his mind, this is the beginning of their relationship.
Wow, a real-life relationship.
When Stan reveals to Kyle that Wendy is in love with someone else, he tells him that he needs to move on and accept that it's over instead of staying depressed for the rest of his life. When Stan does not accept it, Kyle gets angry and tells him that he might as well go hang out with the goth kids. So, Stan does exactly that. He then goes and asks the goth kids if he can hang out with them, and they decide to accept him after a wardrobe change. We then see the waitress at Raisins discussing the methods they use to convince the boys that they are attracted to them in order to receive bigger tips. When the restaurant opens, Butters is the first one inside, telling the waitress how much he missed her. Throughout the rest of the episode, we see the two plots deepen, as Stan continues hanging out with the goth kids, accepting that life is painful and meaningless. Being surrounded by the goth kids makes him comfortable in his depression, allowing the darkness to fully overtake him and accepting his life of despair. Kyle decides to try one more time to try to snap Stan out of it, but after Stan ignores his pleas, he gives in and decides to let Stan go, telling him to be miserable for the rest of his life if he wants to. In contrast to this, we see Butters continue to experience the joy and excitement that comes with falling in love. The waitress is all he thinks about, getting her gifts, telling her how much he misses her, talking on the phone with her at night, and even telling his parents about her. His excitement is simultaneously cute and depressing, knowing that the waitress does not share his feelings in any way. Butters decides their relationship is serious enough to take his parents to meet his new girlfriend, and as he takes them into Raisins for the first time, it's clear where this is heading.
Steven, what is this place?
I don't know.
Butters' parents, upon looking around in the Raisins, immediately realize what has happened. They want to explain it to Butters alone, but he demands that they say it in front of his girlfriend too. They explain to him that these girls take advantage of boys by flirting with them, knowing that flirting will get these boys to do anything, including giving them bigger tips. Butters sees this as his parents not approving of their relationship, and he tells the waitress that he's going to move in with her. She then reveals to Butters that she is not his girlfriend and that she needs to go wait on other tables. Butters takes this as her breaking up with him, and he tells her to go. He walks away, slumped over, looking at the floor, having just experienced his first heartbreak. We then see Butters slumped over on the curb, crying in the rain, directly paralleling the shot of Stan from earlier on in the episode. As he sobs, the goth kids walk up to him, noticing his despair. Stan recognizes Butters and asks him what happened, with Butters telling him that his girlfriend broke up with him. The goth kids then say that he can hang out with them and come write poems about how pointless life is. Butters says that he doesn't want to do that because he still loves life. Stan is confused by this, not understanding how he could still love life after having his heart broken in such a manner. Butters then explains his view on the heartbreak, finally revealing the true message behind this episode and giving us one of the most touching scenes from the entire series.
Well, yeah, and I'm sad. But at the same time, I'm really happy that something can make me feel that sad. It's like, it makes me feel alive, you know? It makes me feel human. The only way I can feel this sad now is if I felt something really good before. So I have to take the bad with the good. So I guess what I'm feeling is like a beautiful sadness. I guess that sounds stupid.
After hearing this, Stan is finally able to snap out of his depression and understands that there is only one way to get better. He tells the goth kids that he likes liking life a lot better than hating it, and leaves them.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
At school the next day, when the boys are playing football on the playground, Stan asks to join in. When Kyle questions him on what changed, he discusses that it still hurts a lot, but he realizes that there's going to be a lot of painful times in life, and he needs to learn how to deal with them in the right way. With this, Stan has made it through his heartbreak and has landed in the final stage of grief, acceptance. After telling Kyle this, he immediately begins the process of dealing with his feelings in the right way.
Hey, Wendy! You're a bitch. Token? Right here, buddy.
You know, no matter how many videos I make on South Park, I am always surprised by the show's ability to really capture emotion in a way that most other forms of media can't. This episode manages to tell a story that feels so incredibly real and raw about heartbreak and love, with some surprisingly heartfelt moments, and even an insightful message that can be genuinely helpful to those who are struggling with similar problems. The crazy part is, it did all of that by telling a story about two 8-year-old boys getting broken up with. I think if there's one thing you should take away from this video, it's that we could all learn something from Butters. Sure, there may be sad times in life, but it's important that we learn to appreciate this sadness. Our emotions are what make us human, and all of them are necessary to the human experience. Without sadness, there would be no happiness, and even though it sucks, it's what makes life worth living. I don't know, I guess that sounds stupid.
Yeah.